you for joining me today. It's Brian Gubernick, and welcome to the No Days Off podcast, where we believe that every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. I was recently listening to a podcast where Morgan Housel, who is a great author, one of my favorite authors, wrote The Psychology of Money, as well as a couple other books. Psychology of Money is one of my favorite wealth books and one you should read if you're on the wealth journey and haven't picked that one up. Just side note. But I heard Morgan on a podcast talking about his new book, and he said something recently that really got me thinking. He said something like in psychology, a diagnosis is sometimes more important than a treatment plan. A diagnosis is sometimes more important than a treatment plan. And what I think he meant was this, that awareness itself can actually change your life. Because sometimes just knowing what's happening inside or inside you or inside your mind, it removes half the weight that you've been carrying. See, we're wired to chase solutions. We want to fix things. But what if fixing isn't the first step? What if the real relief, right, like that first breath of peace, comes the moment you finally understand what's going on? Think about this, okay? You've got all sorts of chaos going on in your head. You can't focus. You start to, have a lot of doubt, start to believe you're lazy or unmotivated. Maybe you're even broken. And you beat yourself up for years. Until one day someone says, "Hey, I wonder if you have ADHD." And suddenly the world starts to make sense. You go talk with someone and they in fact confirm that, yeah, that chaos in your head, it's an actual condition. It's something that you have. And the chaos doesn't disappear per se, but it's no longer mysterious. See, that diagnosis in that example, that awareness, it doesn't fix the problem by any stretch, but it does now reframe the story. Now you know it's not necessarily a weakness, it's your wiring, and now you could potentially do something about it. But the first piece comes with that awareness. In that moment, your suffering changes shape. And that's because it's no longer this undefined fog of, gosh, what's wrong with me? Like you can finally say, okay, now I understand. And that to me is the power of awareness in that particular example. It transforms confusion into clarity and shame in many cases into an understanding. It could transform a lot of panic into peace, even before you've done anything at all about it. Which again is why Morgan makes a statement, a diagnosis is sometimes more important than an actual treatment plan. Again, most of us live in this fix-it mode. Something feels off, so we run to the fire. We rush to take action. We buy a new tool, we start a new program, we launch a new project, and we treat action as medicine of sorts. Because doing something feels safer than just sitting in the discomfort of not knowing, right? But here's the paradox. Action without true awareness can actually make things worse. Action without awareness can make things worse. You're tired, for example, and you assume it's workload. So you start to cut hours. But really it's a lack of purpose. Or you fight with your significant other and you blame communication. But really it's unspoken resentment. You're anxious about your business and you think it's maybe the market, when really it's maybe your fear of losing control. Until you see it clearly, every move is just more motion, just more action. You can't solve what you actually don't understand. But awareness changes everything. Awareness gives you perspective. It's like turning on the lights in a dark room. Nothing about the room actually changed, but now you can move without a degree of fear. When a doctor gives you a name for what's been hurting you, your symptoms don't vanish, but your relationship to those symptoms changes. You stop blaming yourself. You stop making it into more of a catastrophe. The same thing happens in business, it happens in leadership and health and wealth, all of it, all the things that we talk about. So awareness shifts the energy from panic to precision. And instead of reacting, you start responding. And instead of guessing, you start seeing. And I think that's when the noise starts to quiet down. And ironically, once the noise quiets, the right actions then begin to reveal themselves almost naturally. Now, I think there's a process we can consider in an effort to try to live what I'm describing. Some obvious things. First, pause before you fix. When something feels off, don't move, just step back and observe. Just pause and observe. Once you do that, then number two, name what's happening. See, half the peace comes from being able to say, oh, this is exhaustion, or this is anxiety, or this is fear of loss. So name it. And then number three, let that awareness sort of settle. Like, don't rush to solve it. Sit with it for a day, or maybe it's just an hour, but just notice how the understanding alone, just understanding it already changes your body's tension. And then number four, act, but maybe act lightly. Like, once you've seen the real issue, the solution is usually smaller and it's simpler than you initially thought. We work so hard, we spend our lives trying to control the world, when often what we really need to do is just more or less comprehend it. So this week, I want you to try something radical. Okay, when life feels heavy or confusing, or business feels heavy or confusing, resist the urge to fix. Ask instead, do I actually understand what's happening? Like, just hear me out, right? Like, I know you might immediately know what it is, or you might think you immediately know what it is. Just pause, take a step back, and ask, do I actually understand what's happening? Because awareness is more than information. It's peace. It's the relief of finally knowing that your chaos has a name and the frustration has a root, and your fatigue has a reason to it. When you have this awareness, you stop fighting. You stop fighting what I would call shadows. You can finally rest, even if nothing has changed yet. And I think that's the quiet power behind every real transformation. It's not just doing more, but it's seeing clearly. So it's not constant action. No days off is not about constant action. But as you know, I'm a broken record around this. It really is about constant awareness. That's all I have for you today, the No Days Off podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. So let's get after it.